Hey guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, with a look at one of my favorite cases for the iPhone 6. That is the Speck CandyShell. Now, if you saw my review of the first-party Apple cases, the leather and silicone cases, you know that the bottom of the phones are completely exposed, which is not something I want to see for such an expensive metal phone like the iPhone 6 or 6 Plus. So I personally prefer full 360-degree protection. So the first case I went to was the Speck CandyShell. It's one of my favorite case series. It's available for a wide variety of phones in a wide variety of colors and configurations. You can get one with a grippable surface on the back called the Speck CandyShell grip, or you can get the classic, as I personally prefer, which is just a simple hard shell external design with a soft shell internal liner. So you have dual layer protection, soft shell internal for shock protection, and a hard shell on the outside to keep it all together. It's a simple, elegant design that's thin, lightweight, and provides full 360-degree protection for your phone. Now, before we install our phone, let's take a look at the internal of the case, which shows you that internal soft liner, which does a really nice job providing protection for the phone and seals it up against dust and grit, which might get between the phone and the casing, which may scratch the phone. You'll also find at the corners that the case is flexible. This allows for installation of the phone and provides some impact zones for protection. Now, the case fits on pretty snugly. That's thanks to the rounded design of the new iPhone. So if we look at the bottom, you see we have full protection here while still allowing access to the lightning port, the headphone jack, the microphone, and the speaker. And there's plenty of room here, so just about any headphone jack will fit in here. Now, along the left-hand side, you'll find your volume buttons, which are covered but still very tactile, and they're nicely raised here, so they're pretty easy to feel for. There's also a large enough opening to operate the mute switch on the side with your thumb. Now, toward the top of the case, right above the earpiece, you'll find a little notch in the bezel surrounding the phone. That's thanks partly to the fact that the ambient light sensor and proximity sensor are really close. They want to leave enough space for them. Now, on the right-hand side, you'll find your sleep-wake switch, again, also covered and again, very tactile. Now, toward the back, we have the perfect size cutout for the camera module, the LED flash, and the microphone, along with a black bezel around that to prevent glare from the flash, and it does its job. Now, the Speck CandyShell comes with a nice lay-on table design, so there's an ample ledge here while not crowding the screen, so it's just about perfect. It's also a fairly thin, lightweight case here. It doesn't add a lot of bulk to the phone, and it's also really nice and grippable, especially with the rubber buttons along the side. Kind of naturally grip onto those to get a good grip of the phone. It also has that nice material around the bezel of the phone, so you can wrap your fingers around it to really get a nice grip here. But of course, on the back, we have this glossy material. This is plastic, a glossy plastic. Of course, you can get other configurations. I think you can get a matte configuration eventually. So if you don't like glossy, there's probably a solution for you here. Personally, I prefer glossy. It does have a tendency to scratch and that sort of thing. I did use one for my iPhone 5 and 5S. It scratched within reason. It wasn't hideous, but it did a nice job protecting the phone and held up very well. I had no issues with that case. Now, my only real gripe about this case is the back seems to bow out toward the center. So when you place it flat on the surface, it's not quite even and likes to spin around like a top. So there are a few things I really like seeing here. I see that the lightning port and the headphone jack has a rubber piece around the top of it instead of a thin plastic piece. With the iPhone 5 and 5S cases, at least the one I had, that would fail and break. So it's good to see that they fixed that, and the rubber buttons feel perfect. There's the right amount of tactile feel, and there's plenty of room to operate the mute switch, and the bezel around the side provides plenty of protection for that curved glass display while not crowding the screen. So I really like the design and simplicity of this case. Feels high quality, does a nice job protecting the phone while not being too bulky. So the Speck CandyShell is still one of my favorite cases, and if you're not happy with the Apple cases, this is even cheaper. So that's going to do for me in this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.